Good evening. After years of cuts, job losses and the closure of police stations, West Midlands Police has announced its biggest recruitment drive in a decade. More than 1,000 new jobs will be on offer. They include 800 frontline officers, 200 specialist staff and 150 extra police community support officers. In a moment, I'll be talking to the Police and Crime Commissioner David Jameson about the new jobs. But first, our special correspondent Peter Wilson looks at whether the force reflects the communities it protects.
The new faces of West Midlands Police, all recruited in the last 2 years. Today in Birmingham, it was revealed that the police are looking for more than 1,000 like them. These two men were born outside the UK, one in Poland, the other in Jamaica. Now, both patrol our streets.
I really believe that I can contribute to West Midlands with my understanding of not just Polish community, but the Eastern European communities.
The job is there for anybody. At the end of the day, if people from various communities want to apply and apply themselves to the job, then there's no issue.
West Midlands Police haven't just suffered the death of 1,000 cuts, more than 3,000 jobs have gone since 2010. A fifth of the budget disappeared. Recruitment was frozen. Doing more with less became the mantra. Now they're recruiting again, if only to stabilise a slimmed-down force.
We are an older organisation. Our constables, by 2020, average ages are starting to get into the 40s. That's not reflective of the community as well. So recruiting diverse communities, some younger people to the organisation is absolutely fundamental to us at this moment in time.
Crime seems to be changing. It's no longer about antisocial behaviour or burglaries. The police are talking about cybercrime or domestic violence. But one survey out today says that more than a third of people haven't seen a police officer on the beat in more than 12 months.
As an ordinary beat policeman walking around the roads, no, I can't say I've seen one this last 12 months.
As a woman living on my own in the city centre, I would say that having a police presence is important to me.
I always see the police in Birmingham, especially in city centre.
The police claim they are committed to reflecting the communities they serve, yet just under 10% of officers come from ethnic backgrounds. The Shah brothers are recent recruits and say their cultural knowledge is just as important as their police training.
Me and my brother went to school in Sparkbrook. We grew up in Adam Rock, so we come from these areas as well. We understand, I know that in these areas the police aren't seen very positively. I know I grew up in where everyone sort of hated the police in those areas. I know that. Hopefully we can sort of spread a good message and show people that actually, the divide shouldn't be that big.
In Lozells at a church, I meet up with community activist and minister Desmond Jaddu. He tells me that there are still many people who don't trust the police.
Some people talk about institutionalised racial discrimination. Some people talk about the issues surrounding disproportionalities, the disproportional use of force. But incivility, basic incivility, is a major problem.
Changing the face of West Midlands Police and getting it in shape to deal with the challenges of the future is the job for all those who've joined the Thin Blue Line. Peter Wilson, BBC Midlands Today, Birmingham.
Well, I'm joined now by Police and Crime Commissioner for West Midlands Force, David Jameson. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming in. Let's start with that survey that Peter mentioned in his report, which says that around a third of people haven't seen a bobby on the beat in the last year. Will they see any of these new 800 that you're going to recruit?
Well, they certainly will, and that's the whole purpose of recruiting over 1,000 people to the force, and PCSOs in addition to that as well, because people want to see more presence on the street. But the crime is happening in all sorts of different ways as well. A lot of crime is happening on the internet, it's happening in the private place, in people's homes, and it's happening, of course, we've got terrorism as well, which we're coping with. So some of the crime is still on the street, people want to see a presence there, but we need policing in other areas as well.
And there is also an issue here of reflecting the community that you serve, isn't there? How will you ensure that the new recruits represent the communities that you serve? Because currently the population in West Midlands Force area, 30% come from ethnic minority backgrounds, but as Peter Wilson said in his report, less than 10% of your officers come from the same backgrounds. How will you address that?
Well, that's why I'm absolutely determined that that recruitment that we do reflect all the people in the West Midlands.
How will you do that?
Well, we've been doing it already, and we've done it a number of ways. Is firstly advertising our posts more in the ethnic minority communities, making sure that people who apply for the jobs are actually assisted through the process. I have to say as well is everybody who applies has to meet the same standards, no lowering of the standard. But the last group that came through of recruits we took, about a third were black or Asian. So in fact, what we're doing clearly is working. But you're quite right, we've got to work on this because we've got to look a little bit more like the people we serve.
And there's also an issue here of community relations, isn't there, as raised by Desmond Jaddu in Peter Wilson's report. He says that people speak to him about institutional racial discrimination, disproportional use of force and general incivility. Surely that's something you need to tackle before recruiting officers from ethnic and minority backgrounds.
That's where people like him need to come on board and assist us. I mean, constantly criticising and making those comments doesn't help.
But you're not denying it exists, the problem exists.
We have head-on tackled the problem of disproportionality, particularly in stop and search, where the disproportionality has moved down very substantially, and in a number of other areas like tasering and other areas. So we are working very much on that matter, and I hope that those community activists will join with us in actually looking at how we can improve the situation even more.
Okay, David Jameson, thank you for your time this evening. Thank you. A mental health hospital which looks after vulnerable children between the ages of 8 and 18 in Stafford has been put